When I was about 12 or 13, my mom sent me to collect something from one of her friends. I got there, collected it, and I came back home. As I was telling her what happened, I said, "The woman said I should bring this." Before I could finish my sentence, pa, my mom gave me a hot slap. I just stood there completely confused. What did I say that was so wrong? It took me years to understand. So today, we are revisiting 15 African traditions that quietly faded away. Some will make you smile, some might surprise you, and one of them explains why my mom slapped me that day. There was a time when dinner looked completely different. Instead of everyone carrying their own plate, the whole family would gather around one big bowl. The youngest knew exactly where to sit. The older ones knew not to eat too fast, and somehow everyone still had enough to eat. Back then, our grandparents never saw it as a sign of poverty or something old-fashioned. To them, eating from the same bowl kept the family together. That is where conversation happened. People laugh, teased one another, told story, and without even realizing it, the children were learning something much bigger than sharing food. They were learning patience, respect, and how to live with other people. Today, everyone has their own plate, their own seat. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But somewhere along the way, that simple tradition of gathering around one bowl quietly faded away until it became nothing more than a memory. If you grow up before smartphones, you probably remember this. As soon as you get home from school, you drop your bag, eat your food, and run outside. Your friends are already calling your name. Before you know it, the whole street is full of children. Everyone has a game to play. Some play suwe, some play ten. The older boys gather around the Ayo board, Ayo Olopon, while the younger ones wait, hoping someone say, "Come, it is your turn." So growing up, nobody needs expensive toy to have fun. A few lines drawn on the ground, a handful of stones, some bottle caps, or even an old tire. That is enough. Sometimes we even cook imaginary food with sand and build little houses with our hands. Hours pass before anyone notice. We only stop when it get dark and our parents call us inside. And without realizing it, those games teach us patience, teamwork, and how to win or lose with grace, even if someone still argues after losing. Then little by little, things begin to change. The street grow quiet, children stay indoors, phones, television and video games slowly take over. These days, only a few children still play these games. For many, they are no longer part of growing up. In fact, some have never even heard their names. And somehow, an entire childhood quietly fades away without most of us even noticing. Another thing that slowly disappears is children learning straight from their grandparents. Then you don't have to ask to be taught. You simply stay around them. Maybe your grandfather is making a clay pot, maybe he's carving wood or fixing a basket. You sit beside him, watching everything he does. If you try to touch it too early, he laughs and say, "Not yet, just watch." After a while, he finally lets you try. Most times you get it completely wrong. Everybody laughs, even you. Then he takes it back, shows you again and say, "Try one more time." That is how a lot of children learn back then. Nobody calls it a lesson. Nobody gives you a certificate. You simply spend time with your grandparents and little by little you pick things up without even knowing. And it is not only the skill you are learning. While their hands are busy, they are telling you stories, giving advice, correcting you when you make mistakes and teaching you how to respect people. So looking back now, those conversations are just as valuable as the skill itself. So these days, life is different. Many children still love their grandparents, but very few get to spend that kind of time with them. Little by little, the knowledge that once moved naturally from one generation to the next quietly fades away. There was a time when the day didn't really end after sunset. For many children, that is when the best of the day is just beginning. So after dinner, everyone gathers outside. Some sit on a woven mat, others sit on a bare ground. So all it takes is an old lantern and an elderly person with a good story. So the funny thing is nobody needs pictures or special effects. The moment the story begins, everywhere goes quiet. So if it is funny, everyone laughs. If it is scary, some children hold on to the person beside them. Some stories are about clever tortoise, others are about brave hunters. So as children, we don't think about the lessons. We simply enjoy every moment. So without anyone noticing, those evenings teach imaginations, patience and the joy of listening together. But these days, many of those storytelling circles have disappeared. Another thing that quietly fades away is the surprise visit. There was a time when visiting someone didn't start with a phone call. You simply showed up. Maybe you were returning from the farm with fresh maize, yam, and decided to stop by. Nobody saw you as a disturbance. Nobody asked why didn't you call before coming. They smiled, brought out a chair, gave you water, and everyone started talking. If food was on the table, they simply find another plate for you. Now, most people call or send a message before visiting. It makes life easier, but those surprise visits brought people closer in a way that is becoming rare. Another thing that quietly disappeared was children running errands alone. There was a time when your parents handed you a few coins and said, "Go and buy me vegetables," and off you went. No phone, no one following behind you. So the amazing part is nobody worried too much. Every neighbor knew you and every adult looked out for you. So if you got distracted, someone would simply call you back and remind you where you were going. But nowadays, that is hard to imagine. Those little trips to the market didn't just teach us responsibility, they also taught us to trust people around us. Growing up, compound living was part of everyday life. There was a time when one compound was not just one family. Uncles, aunties, grandparents, cousins, everybody lived together. You woke up to people talking, children running around, someone cooking outside, another person sweeping the compound. So it always felt like something was happening. And the nice part was you were never really alone. If your parents were not around, another adult was there to look after you. That is just how life worked then. Nowadays, most family live on their own. Those busy compounds are much emptier now. Some of the old family houses have even collapsed, while others stand abandoned. Many of those everyday moments now live only in our memories. Before, farming was not something you did alone. Whenever it was time to clear the land or harvest crops, neighbors showed up with their hoes and cutlasses. Nobody needed an invitation, they simply came to help. So the best part was work didn't feel so hard as everyone worked, people talked, laughed, shared stories, and sometimes even sang. Before you knew it, the whole farm was finished. Then a few days later, everyone gathered again and moved to another person's farm. That is how it went from one family to another then. But today, things are different. Many people work on their farms alone, and little by little, those days of farming side by side have faded into memory. There was a time when hot nights meant everyone carried their mats outside. So the family slept together under the open sky, listening to stories, laughter, crickets, and the cool night breeze. So instead of staring at a ceiling, children fell asleep counting the numbers of stars. So it seems ordinary back then, but today many children may never experience the simple joy of sleeping under the African sky. It was not just a place to sleep, it was a tradition that quietly brought families closer. Traditional wrestling was more than a sport. So whenever there was a match, the whole village gathered to watch it. The wrestler entered the arena with quiet confidence, and once the drum started, the contest began. So it was not just about strength, it took skills, balance and respect. So winning brought honor to the wrestlers, his families and sometimes to the entire community. So today, this tradition still survive in some places, but it is becoming much less common across Africa. The village square was once the heart of the community. It was where people gathered to hear important news, to settle disputes and to discuss matters that affected everyone. So elders and the villagers came together, shared ideas and made decisions as a community. Today, those gatherings have become much less common as modern life has changed the way people connect. Remember the story about the slap? Well, this is why it happened. I got home that day and I spoke about an older woman the same way I would talk about one of my friends. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Before I knew it, bah, my mom slapped me. She looked at me and said, "Who taught you to speak to an elder like that?" And in those days, children were taught to speak to elders with respect. You don't call them by their first name or talk to them casually, no matter who they were. Today, the tradition is slowly disappearing. Looking back now, I finally understand why my mom reacted that way, at least the way she did. It was never just about the words I used, it was about respecting elders. There was a time when palm wine gatherings were more than just drinking. So after a long day's work, people come together to laugh, share stories, settle disagreements and learn from their elders. It was not about drinks, it was about friendship, community and belonging. But today, those simple gatherings are slowly disappearing, taking a piece of African tradition with them. There was a time when cleaning the village was not anybody's job, it was everybody's job. So you don't need to be paid. You don't even wait for someone to tell you. So once the elders announce it, every young man and woman knew where to be the next morning. So some will clear the bushes along the footpath, some filled potholes, other clean the market square or repair the small bridge leading to the stream. So it was not punishment, it was just how the community looked after itself. So if you stay home with a good reason or without a good reason, everyone will know before the sun went down. But today, many of those community work days have disappeared. So growing up, greeting an elder was not something you did while walking past. You stopped, you prostrated if you are a boy or you kneel down if you are a girl. It didn't matter whether you know the person or not. That is how many of us were raised. Sometimes your mom will call you back from inside the house because you forgot to greet someone properly. It was not about fear, it was simply the right thing to do. But today things have changed. A quick eye or a wave is enough for many people. But kneeling and prostrating were not just greetings, they were part of everyday life and one of the African tradition that quietly faded away.